Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Maybe you could begin with a brief introduction to this amazing film, The Old Oak. What can people expect when they watch it?
I hope they see a good film. I hope they enjoy it. I hope they take away some thoughts on what the topics and the themes of the film. It's an interesting film, and I hope it's very thought-provoking, and I hope it, makes people question the narrative that's going on in the country presently regarding immigration.
This film has many layers. It talks about refugees and Syrian refugees. It talks about ex-mining communities. Both they are victims in their own ways. And it talks about them coming together and what this looks like. And it's about a story about friendship and hope and anti-racism.
And obviously, Ken Loach, incredibly revered director, does so much important work. What did he mean to you as a filmmaker and his films? What was your kind of history or knowledge of his work before you came on board with this project?
So unfortunately, although I really believe in this kind of art he makes, I didn't know before the audition process. But of course, I did my research and watched his films and also got to know him. And I mean, it's the most inspiring thing. And I'm so grateful for this thing to happen to my life, to really meet him and witness him direct. He's so kind. He directs with kindness. He creates a really safe place so you can be seen and respected and heard. And he cares about what you have to say and what you feel and what is your story, where you come from. So it's a really very humane experience and made my life much deeper and meaningful. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was very much aware of Ken Loach. The first film that I can remember actually seeing was Kess, and I was carried out of the cinema by my mother, uncontrollably weeping, and I think I cried for 3 days. And to this day, I haven't been able to watch the film since. So I'm very much aware of Ken. I'm aware of his place in cinema. I'm also aware of his politics. So I've been lucky enough to spend time with Ken over the last 9 years. I mean, I first met him, in the process for Daniel Blake, and I was very fortunate to spend quite a bit of time with him then. But the time I've spent with him for this has just been an honour. You can't help but be enriched by spending time with him. If you don't come away after spending time with Ken Loach feeling a better person and feeling enriched, but also feeling his anger, then there's something wrong with you. So, I mean, it's been an honour for both of us to spend so much time with him. He's an incredibly humble man who hates being praised, but the man's a genius. It's as simple as that.
And what can you tell us about each of your characters, when you first read that script, how you could relate to them or connect with them and how you prepared to play them? So with TJ.
Right, well, when we started filming, I just had a very rough outline of my character. I knew his name, I knew a tiny bit about his background, and as for the script, I mean, we all got the script the day before filming for each day. So for me to understand my character, it was basically, as the film developed, I got to know more about his background, about his history, and it wasn't until about the second or third week of filming I had a full understanding of who he was. Because of the way Ken works, you shoot in sequence, so you don't know where it's going to end. So I would say it was definitely the second or third week before I really understood who TJ was. So the script process is very, very, my understanding is it's unique. Nobody else works this way, is my understanding. So, no, I mean, they get the script the night before, or sometimes on the morning, and sometimes we'd even do a scene where you didn't know what was going to happen. So that makes it incredible. And that's how I personally believe that's how he gets the emotion and reaction out of people, because you're not prepared. If I'd known at the start of the film how it ended, I would have dealt with it completely differently. And I would not have reacted the way I did in the film. So my experience was that, basically I didn't know who TJ was at the start. So it was a process for me.
And for me too, it was a process to get to know Yara. He doesn't give you everything about it. The general stuff about it, but then he trusts your... he told me once, it shouldn't come from here, it should come from your heart. He trusts your instinct and how you will react in different situations when filming. So if it's a scene where it's really emotional, he doesn't tell you about it days before. You know, you do it on the spot because you build it up like day by day, and you live with the character. So preparing to the role, I did my research. I mean, the Syrian case and the Syrian refugee case is close to my heart. I'm not a Syrian refugee myself. I am a Syrian from occupied Golan Heights. It's a Syrian land occupied. So I witnessed what happened in Syria, and my village is on the border. I see and heard bombs all over the years. So I have family and friends there too. So it was really close to my heart, and although I'm not, but I know what happened there. So I did my research. I did specific research about the character of Yara, where she comes from, her accent. Watch a lot of documentaries and ask friends for their what happened like to them. Yeah, so you know, you should know some things, but also you should be open and to trust your instinct along the way, and to
And you know, thinking about, you know, when I was talking to Paul yesterday, he was saying he's worked with Ken for such a long time, but he feels like this was one of the hardest films they ever made. Did it feel like that on set? Was this something, you know, but the drive to make it and the need to make it sort of overcame any of those difficulties? Was that something you felt on set?
It didn't feel difficult to me because they create such an atmosphere. I mean, it does feel like a family when you work in there. You know, I mean, it's. I've said this before, and you know, I was told by Rebecca O'Brien, the producer, they spend as much time casting the crew as they do the cast, because it's all part of the same process. You know, and there's no egos allowed in a Ken Loach film. Everyone's treated the same. You know, everyone goes to set on the same bus. You know, you can be sitting next to Ken one minute, the next minute you sit next to somebody bringing the sandwiches. There's no hierarchy. It's a team effort. So they always made me feel safe, very, very, very protected, and he creates such an atmosphere where you're not afraid to show your vulnerability. And for my character, of course, he had to show a lot of vulnerability at times, and the atmosphere was created as such I was able to do it. You know, if there hadn't been that sort of atmosphere, I don't know how I would have reacted. All I do know is I wouldn't have reacted in the way that's in the film. So I was aware of the scale of the process, and some of the scenes, there's a lot of people in. And, you know, some of the scenes took quite a bit of orchestration, like the first scene when the bus arrives, you know, and one of the final scenes when the community comes together. Those scenes were difficult, but during the process, it just seemed to me as if, you know, I wasn't aware of any issues because they made us just feel so safe, secure, and to be honest, loved. It was a really loving, incredible atmosphere for me.
I agree. It was a really comfortable and inspiring space to be in, although the hardship of the situation. And I witnessed the hard subject, especially for Syrian refugees. Like they went through hard stuff, really, so bad stuff. And when you have to live it, or if something reminds you of it, it's really hard. Triggers a lot of emotion, so it can be hard, but it's really made in a safe and friendly and kind of nice place to be in, protected space to be in, to express and to. So although it was dealing with hard subjects, it was really you don't feel like it's heavy on your heart, or it doesn't feel like that. No, you feel you want to go and you want to be there and you want to participate. It is really fun. Like, although it is hard, but it was really fun working with everybody and like a family, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in terms of what people can take away from watching the film, I mean, like all of Ken Loach's films, you know, it cuts right to the heart of something that's such a crucial issue in this country right now. And although it's tackling something that is a difficult subject matter, it is finding that feeling of hope, that shared humanity, that kind of not making it so divisive between the good guys and the bad guys, not villainizing people, but actually showing that everyone in this country has a different experience of victimhood. So what do you hope people will take away?
I hope people will, when they see the film, they think about racism and how racism I feel like in racism there's judgment. You judge other people based on their race, religion, culture, anything else, just because they are different. So you judge them because maybe you feel threatened by that. And I hope people, when they watch the film, they will see that even if we are different, we come from different places, we have really a lot of things in common because we are human beings. And the different thing, we can celebrate it, and a beautiful result can come away from it. So yeah, I hope the idea of judgment, to stop judging people just because they are different, or yeah.
Okay.
I mean, from me, I think what Paul did beautifully with his script was he didn't stereotype the local people in the community. These aren't, you know, waving swastikas, marching up and down the streets. These are people who have been driven to the edge through lack of investment, through just a feeling of abandonment by the state. And he shows you the situation those people are in. And I think there's a pivotal character in the film, and that's played by Trevor Fox, who plays Charlie. You know, and at one point, TJ confronts him and says, "How have you become this man?" And I think that's what we need to understand, what has happened to these communities, which was staunch trade union, labour, heartland. And these are now the place where racism and the far right are on the march. And we need to understand why that's happened. Rather than just stereotype people, I think what Ken and Paul have done is to show these people at the end of the rope that don't know a way forward. And what tends to happen in those situations is the far right comes in. And it's always easier to put the blame on somebody else. And unfortunately, in my opinion, what they're doing largely is to put the blame on the people, the most vulnerable and the most in need of help and support. So rather than offering the hand of support, these people are being now vilified, dehumanised, and the language that's being used in terms of swarms, invasion, you know, in small boats. Please stop saying small boats. It's people in small boats. So all I hope is, personally, is that people take away from this is it's about hope, it's about humanity. We're all people. We're all part of the same planet. So don't stereotype or stigmatise people because they look different to you, they sound different to you, they come from a different place. You know, it's about hope. So please go and see it and just think about the things you hear. Think about the people's opinions that you hear, and think about what's been said in the mainstream media by some politicians, because it's wrong.
And finally, you know, being at that premiere last night, it just felt like there was such an incredible atmosphere. You know, how did it feel to be there? And even seeing Ken Loach, you know, despite his age, just like giving so much, and the passion is just like so visible.
Yeah, like when I was doing the interview, I looked at him and I said, "Ebla, remember the bash, remember the case, remember the..." So it's really amazing being with such company, really, really amazing. I'm so grateful for it. Personally, I get overwhelmed by... I am a shy person, I get overwhelmed by it, but if you really remember why are we there, and like you listen, you know the film and stuff like that, so I feel really grateful, and yeah.
I mean, we've been lucky so far. You know, we've had a lot of really good feedback. You know, been a few screenings and premieres now, and the feedback has been incredible. Last night, after that premiere last night, the positivity was incredible. You know, I spoke to people who, you know, I remember one guy who came from the Yemen, and he said, "This is my story. This is my family." You know, when you're confronted with somebody like that who had tears in his eyes, you know, it is an emotional film, you know, and make no apology for that. You know, I just, you know, the positivity around it is great. It's Studio Canal we've got to thank. They're putting an enormous amount of resources into this. It's going to be going, I think it's about 260 cinemas. So thank the Studio Canal for that. I mean, it's a massive effort. It's an honour. You know, we've said this from day one. It's been an honour and a privilege, you know, to be part of it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me.